Hello dear students, so now today we would move ahead in this fourth chapter of class 7 science, that is heat, where we were talking about how to measure the temperature. See, to find out whether a given object is hot or not, for that we have two methods. So simply by touching we can find out whether the given object is hot or not. Okay. Then the second method we were discussing, that is by measuring the temperature. By measuring the temperature of the given object, we can just find out whether the given object is hot or not. Okay. But how to measure the temperature? For that we are using the thermometer. Like if you are to measure the body temperature, so for that we are using the clinical thermometer that we have already discussed in the previous video. Now suppose you are to measure the temperature of water. So how do you measure? Would you use their clinical thermometer? No, you cannot use their, in case of water, the clinical thermometer. So for that you would have to use the laboratory thermometer. Okay. So laboratory thermometer, its range means it measure the temperature in the range of minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay. So I can write here the range of laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. Means it can measure the temperature in this one range. Means if the temperature is more than 100, so you would not be using the laboratory thermometer, then you would be using some other thermometer there. Many types of thermometers are there. Okay. Okay, so different thermometers are used to measure the different temperature, but if you are to measure the temperature in this one range, so for that you can use the laboratory thermometer. Okay, like suppose we are using the maximum and minimum thermometer. Like we are using maximum and minimum thermometer. So when you are using this one thermometer, so in case when we have to report the highest and the lowest temperature of the previous day. Okay, so in the weather report you might have seen this. Okay, so when they are reporting the temperature, the highest and the lowest temperature of the previous day, so they are using this one thermometer, maximum and the minimum thermometer. So it is used to report the maximum and minimum temperature of previous day in a weather report. Okay, when you are just making a weather report, so for that you are to use the maximum and minimum temperature for the maximum and minimum temperature of the previous day. Are you getting this? So this is how we have many types of thermometer. Okay, so different types of thermometer are used for the different purpose. Okay, so if you have to measure the higher temperature, more than higher, so for that you would be using some other thermometer. But you have to, if you have to measure the temperature in this one range, so for that you are to use the laboratory thermometer. Okay, are you getting this? Are you getting this? Very good. Just note it down. And you might have seen that in the clinic also we are nowadays we are not using the thermometer where you have the mercury there. So mercury one thermometer are not used nowadays. Why? Because this mercury is a very poisonous substance. Okay, so sometimes the thermometer break down, so the mercury, it is not easy to dispose this mercury, and it is very poisonous also. So that is why there is a lot of concern regarding this. So nowadays we are using the digital thermometer. So digitally we are measuring the temperature here. Are you getting this? Just note down this also, then we would move ahead. Now you must have seen that, suppose let's say you have a frying pan or a utensil, and you just put it over the flame. This is the flame, and you put it over the flame. So what would happen? So after some time you would find that this whole utensil becomes hot. How is it? Earlier the utensil was cool. Okay, it was cold. Okay, so when you are just when you just put it over the flame, so what happens? This whole utensil becomes hot. How does this has happened? Because the heat which was there in the flame, you have the heat here. So the heat which was there in the flame has been transferred to the utensil. Okay, now let's say you just remove this frying pan or the utensil from the flame. Now you just remove it and just keep it here somewhere, and there is no flame now. Now what would happen? After some time it would become colder. Yes or not? Earlier it was hot when you just put it over the flame, because the heat of the flame has been transferred to the to the utensil there. So when you just remove it over the flame, and then after some time you would find that the heat has been transferred to the surrounding. Okay, getting it or not? Now the heat which was there in the utensil has been transferred to the surrounding atmosphere, and it has become colder now. Okay. Similarly, one more example you can see. Let's say suppose you have an iron rod. Let's say this is the iron rod, and just put it over the flame. Put it over the flame and hold it from here. Now after some time you would find that this end of the iron rod also has become hotter, which was earlier colder. Now how this has happened? Because the heat has been this was the colder region, colder place. So the heat has been transferred to the colder place to the the hotter place to the colder place. This was the colder place. This was the hotter place. Why it was hotter? Because you have put it over the flame. Are you getting it? So when you put it over the flame, this one end becomes hot. So now the heat would transfer from the hot place to the colder one, and later you would find that this one end also has become hot. So we can just see that always the heat is transferring, or you can see that always the heat is transferring from the hotter end to the colder end. Yes or not? In this one case also, flame was hot, there was heat in the flame, has been transferred to the utensil which was cooled. Now in this one case also, utensil was hot, surrounding was cold, so the heat has been transferred from the utensil to the surrounding. So in this one case also, this one end was hot, this one was cold, so heat has been transferred from the hot to the cold. Okay, so always you would find that the heat transferred from the hotter end to the colder end. Okay, and this is known as the conduction of heat. Okay, so when the heat is transferring from the hotter end to the colder end, so we call it as the conduction. What do we call it? We call it conduction. So let me write about the conduction now. So the process by which heat is transferred from the hotter end to the colder end is known as conduction. What do we call it? We call it conduction. Okay, so that is all for today. We'll be discussing some other topics of this chapter in the next upcoming lecture. Till then, stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you. Have a good day.